No new singers this week. No wild card debut. Nope, we've got 3 of the 5 original members from Group A. And then last week's wild card, the Pickle, and all 4 of these performers facing off against each other in hopes of securing a spot in the Group A quarterfinal, which I think will be coming in a few weeks. I believe next week we will see Group B for the first time. So we'll get back to Group A in a bit. But for now, we've got these 4. Let's talk the Masked Singer. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my Masked Singer recap and reaction video. We are in Season 10, and we are talking about the 4 remaining members of Group A, which is the Pickle, the Gazelle, the S'more, and the Cow. We've already said goodbye to Rubber Ducky, which was Anthony Anderson, the Diver, who was that horrible Tom Sandoval. But nobody knew this week. We just had 4 main performances, and then the 2 that got the least amount of votes faced off in a battle royale scenario, and then the 3 remaining members will be going forward to the quarterfinals. All right, so before we launch into this week's episode and the clues and all of this, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We run down the Masked Singer clues every single week that there is a new Masked Singer episode, and this is really just getting started with Season 10 because there's many performers we have not even seen yet, so just sort of scratching the surface right now. But of course, commenting below really helps me kind of cement my guesses and know which way I want to lean. We've had some interesting people comment some very interesting things so far this season, some of which have definitely shaped where my guesses are going. So we're going to talk about all of that. But first, let's talk about the theme of the night, which is the 2000s. They started doing these theme episodes last season, and this one is all about the 2000s. And that makes sense. You know, most of the singers in Group A, I do believe, are sort of in this generation or so. You know, a lot of them talking about how they broke big in the 2000s. And to start the show off, we had Jewel, who won I think it was season 8 of The Masked Singer, and she sang one of her early 2000 hits, Standing Still. I recently worked at a mall that had a lot of, you know, popular music in the last 20 to 30 years, and they would play Standing Still by Jewel all the time, so very used to hearing that one in my recent life. But but she opened with that one, and we did not see her the rest of the show. I think she took off after that. But we start with the Pickle, and look, I think this will be a shock to no one, even if you did not see tonight's episode. The Pickle is the one going home. So we're going to go over some of the clues and then do the reveal before we even talk about the other 3 singers. Look, it was pretty obvious Pickle was going to go home. Even really the top 2 I think were pretty obvious, and that means the bottom 2 going face to face or head-to-head or whatever, mask to mask in the Battle Royale. I think it was going to be pretty obvious. It was always going to be the Pickle and the S'more. And we'll talk a little bit more about everybody's performance later. But first, let's concentrate on the Pickle. And by the way, I've written so many notes now in my notebook just for a few of the performers here that I have a little extra note card with some extra things on it because I'm running out of room here in my allotted space. All right, so the Pickle. He says in the 2000s night, he feels right at home because that's when internet beef was born, and he is outspoken, been in fights that we've heard about, and we see a police car at that point. I've butted heads with Real Housewives, NBA stars, movie directors, and movie stars, and even online publications, and we see a baseball at that point. We also see a Panther mask, which, if you'll remember, was Montel Jordan. So I don't know if he had a beef with Montel Jordan at some point as well. He said, public feuds for me is performance art, but I've rekindled friendships over the years as well with some of my adversaries. And he sings Beverly Hills by Weezer. It's not a good performance. This guy is not a professional singer. He's not even really a good singer, but He's giving it his all. I will give him that. Lance Bass from NSYNC comes out and gives the post-song clue then, and it's a display of Pickles with different wigs that says Friends on it. And he says, I've done so many things, but people always associate me with my famous friends. So the guesses from the panel include Charlie Sheen, which was, I think, Nicole's guess. Sean Penn from Ken. That's a horrible guess, of course. We know that. But this is someone older, so I kind of like the way he's thinking, at least with that. And then Joel McHale was mentioned as well from either Robin or Jenny early on. All right, so the Pickle is going home. We know this already. I've already said it. But he faced off against the S'more in the Battle Royale, and they both sang Sugar We're Going Down by Fall Out Boy, one of the greats of emo radio in the mid-2000s for sure. Love me some Fall Out Boy. But, look, the Pickle just can't compare with these other singers. He's just not that good of a performer. Or I mean, he's a fine performer. He's got some corny dance moves or whatever. But he's just not a good singer. So I think it was a foregone conclusion. Pickle's going home. So the final guesses from the panel: Nicole sticking with Charlie Sheen, and she mentioned he was on Friends. I guess he was. I don't really remember that particular episode, but okay. Ken went with Howard Stern, which, look, some of you guys in the comments were saying Howard Stern as well. And, Jenny thinks that is a bad guess. I don't actually think, based on the clues, that is a terrible guess. I don't think that. But the voice is just not matching up for me at all. Jenny was guessing Conan O'Brien, especially with the Friends clue, because he has a podcast called Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. Last week we saw a lot of podcasting and radio clues, which is, another reason Howard Stern, might be thrown into the mix there. But Robin said those dance moves can only be one person, Joel McHale. And so that got everyone on the panel thinking, and they're like, oh, yeah, maybe you're right. This is Joel McHale. Even Nicole kind of switched over and was like, oh, my God, this has got to be Joel McHale. All right, look, I said it last week. I was very confident with my guess of Michael Rappaport. And, look, he's been on many shows, including Friends. I mentioned that last week, that's probably, his most famous thing that he's done. He was only on maybe 3 episodes or something. He played a policeman, which we see the cop car when he says, I've been in fights that maybe you've heard about. At that point, they throw the cop car in to sort of throw you off. Oh, okay, maybe he's, been in fights that landed him in jail or whatever. No, he plays cops. I mentioned this last week as well. Not only Friends, but he plays a detective in Only Murders in the Building in a few episodes. So the guy has played cops, throughout his career. But, all of the clues for me matched up as well last week. A bunch of radio clues. His parents were, in radio, in the business. He's got several podcasts going on. And in terms of these, the beefs that he's had, he butted heads with different, groups and stuff. I don't know exactly. Look, I don't follow him closely enough to know, okay, he was beefing with this NBA star or whatever. But when he says even online publications, he was part of Barstool Sports for, 6 months or something. And then his outspoken nature got him in some trouble, into some hot water there. And they fired him. So I think maybe that's what he's referring to there. But listen, this voice for me is unmistakable. It's so funny that they're saying, oh, it's got to be Joel McHale. I don't hear anybody but Michael Rappaport under this mask. And look, maybe once you dial in on something, it is hard to hear somebody else. To me, it's an obvious. But look, the season that I think Seal and Daughtry were on the same season, and I could not figure either one out, and that really made me angry because I love both of those guys and they both have pretty distinct voices. And then once I finally realized, oh, it's Chris Daughtry, I was like, oh my God, how did I not pick up on that the whole time? So look, if they're thinking Joel McHale, I get it. Maybe they're hearing that in the voice. For me, this can only be one person. I'm sticking with my original guess of Michael Rappaport, and since Pickle is going home first, and he sang first, let's just go to the take it off. No sense in making us wait any longer. And then we'll get to the other singers. So let's see. Is this Michael Rappaport? I really think it, and he's like playfully jabbing with Nick. He was on Wild and Out. It is. It's Michael Rappaport. And like I said, you may not. I said this last week. You might not know him by his name, but you know the face. Between Friends and so many other things he's done over the years. Yeah, Ken had 2 in a row going in to this episode. He's really been a superstar this season, but no one on the panel thought Michael Rappaport. Oh, here he goes. A personal friend of mine, Nick says. That, yeah, he was on Wild and Out 20 years ago or whatever.
Mike, tell me what's on your mind, man, because I know you're pissed off right now.
We knew it was somebody that knew Nick, because he was playing with him last week, slapping his butt.
You should have won. I'm not even going to start with you. I'm going to start with you first, Ken. You fake-ass doctor.
Okay, well... All right, now we're getting into the anger issues of Michael Rappaport, but I'll watch that later. But all right, anyway, yeah, I just did not hear Howard Stern at all there, so I was out on that. All right, so I'm 3 for 3. Tom Sandoval, you guys kind of talked me into, and the Vanderpump clue last week clued me in on that. But Anthony Anderson, same with Michael Rappaport. I recognized that voice immediately. So, my first impression guesses, I'm 2 for 3 this season. But for overall guesses, I'm 3 for 3. All right, so let's go to everybody else here. Gazelle was next. And she said, let's see, not a ton of clues here, but a very specific story she told. The deer costume is meaningful for her because someone she loved and lost just weeks before her wedding. We see a mouse at that point. We see some dog tags at that point. And she said it rained on her wedding day, and they knew that their loved one was looking down on them from heaven. She sings Lucky by Britney Spears. It's an okay song, but she does a good job with it. And Kate Flannery from The Office comes out to give the post-singing clue, and it is a Gazelle's Love Story DVD. And the Gazelle says, the 2000s was my film debut. And we'll note the spelling here, Gazelle's with a Z at the end. That is interesting, and I'll tell you why. So... first couple of weeks, well, all right, let me get to the panel's guesses first. So the panel guessed Mandy Moore, Hilary Duff, or potentially Ashley Tisdale, thinking maybe the mouse has something to do with Disney, Mickey Mouse, of course, High School Musical, Ashley Tisdale, and Hilary Duff. I don't know if Mandy Moore had a Disney thing going on, but of course Hilary Duff was Lizzie McGuire. All right, so the first couple of weeks of this season, I was thinking perhaps Idina Menzel. The clues, a lot of them were matching up. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But you guys in the comments most of you were all about this Evan Rachel Wood guess. So after the first week, I took your consideration for the Evan Rachel Wood. But I still stuck with Idina Menzel last week. I did not hear Evan Rachel Wood in The Voice. And also, I didn't really think the clues for last week matched up. Being asked to change her name and everything. Evan's not... it's a little weird for a girl, but it's not like a hard name to pronounce or anything. So I sort of just have been ruling her out. But in the comments, and one of you was right on this from week 1, so congratulations to that. But a few others of you sort of came on board with this guess after last week's performance. And I'll be honest, up until the first week, I didn't know who this person was. I've never heard of this person. However, I have seen some of her work. And I am going to go with you guys on the Gazelle being Janelle Parish. I'll be honest, I don't really know who this person is. However, you guys are matching the clues up pretty well with, she is from Hawaii. We've seen a lot of Hawaii stuff. The surfboard we saw last week, certainly that could be from Hawaii. But one of the things that put me off of Evan Rachel Wood was she's never won a Teen Choice Award. The surfboard is the symbol of that. Idina Menzel has for Frozen. But guess what? Janelle Parish has won several of them for her role in Pretty Little Liars. Now, I never watched Pretty Little Liars. However, looking up her filmography, I did see her in the Netflix series of movies To All the Boys. It's a really good teen love series. There's 3 movies, and they're all pretty good. And they actually released a separate, like a spin-off show for one of the characters called Exo Kitty. That was out earlier this year that I really liked as well. Janelle Parish is not in that. Just wanted to throw it out there. It was a good show. But so she was a part of those series of movies. So I did see her in that. But what brought her to the dance initially in the 2000s was the Bratz movie. She sings in it. So there's your clue from that first week where she says, not only do I act in movies, but I sing in them as well. The Bratz movie, she was on the soundtrack for that. And, of course, Bratz dolls have a Z at the end. Bratz. So, the Gazelles with a Z love story is another clue leading us to Bratz. So, listen, I admit I never would have guessed this person if it were not for you guys in the comments, because I never heard of this person, certainly by name. But I am definitely thinking this is Janelle Parish. I think that's an excellent, excellent guess from you guys, so I thank you for it. I wasn't feeling the Evan Rachel Wood, so I'm glad it is not her. I think it's not her. You know, maybe you'll tell me I'm wrong and it's still Evan Rachel Wood. But yeah, I could not get with that guess last week. I just was not feeling it. All right, so we're gonna move on now to the s'more. And let's see. The 2000s is my decade, from TRL to my videos being played on MTV all the time. I also had the birth of my child. We see a pair of blue sunglasses at that point, and also a 2005 tour bus. We also see a can of hairspray. And he said, I stepped back from performing to be a better father to my kid. And then he sings Hey There, Delilah from the Plain White T's. Great song from that era. And then Lance Bass comes out again, and we see another sort of tour clue. It's a map of the United States with all the dates that they did, and it said S'more Brothers 2000 Tour. And he then said, I was, spending a lot of the early part of the decade touring with my brothers. All right, so the guesses from the panel include Jordan Knight or James Marsden. Both of those came from Nicole. Jordan Knight, obviously, he would not have said the 2000s are my decade. They were 80s and very early 90s. And then, of course, they were united a little bit in the mid 2000s or whatever. But I don't think anybody from New Kids on the Block would say the 2000s was their decade. So I rule that out. James Marsden, okay, you've got the can of hairspray. He can certainly sing. We've seen that in many of his performances. Enchanted as well. Wasn't he in Enchanted? Yeah. Rob Thomas from Ken. That's a bad guess. Doesn't sound like Rob Thomas. But then here's an interesting one that I actually was going to say this week. A couple of you have mentioned this person in the comments. I've been kind of on this Kevin Richardson train from Backstreet Boys. A lot of the clues were really matching up for me with Kevin Richardson. But I will admit, this person, I think, has a higher register than what I think Kevin Richardson has. And also, while you could say certainly the 2000s, Backstreet was still very popular for the first maybe 3 years of the 2000s, I would say probably the late 90s was really their big era. Some of their earlier hits came out in like 97, and then I Want It That Way came out in 99. That was obviously their biggest hit. So to say that the 2000s was the Backstreet Boys decade, I don't know. But this person, Ashley Parker Angel from O-Town, boy, the clues are matching up for this. I don't know enough about him to know, about looking, into the kid and stuff, and if he quit going on the road because of the kid. I don't know. I think O-Town probably just stopped being popular, to be completely honest. But, we had a Christmas tree in that first clue, specifically with an angel on top. And I was thinking, well, Backstreet Boys had a Christmas album. I think it's a clue for his name, Ashley Parker Angel. So you've got the angel on top of the tree. So yeah, I'm good with this. I mean, all of the clues match up. He has done, I guess, a few Broadway things. I don't know if they're from Florida. We had those oranges as a clue last week, which, again, was leading me to the Backstreet Boys. But vocally, I think Kevin Richardson's voice is a little bit higher. And so I'm going to go with a few of you in the comments. And Robin Thicke. No, Jenny, I'm sorry, is the one who said this. Ashley Parker Angel is my guess for the s'more. Finally, we have the cow. And for my money, I think the cow may win this whole season. We have not heard from a lot of people yet. We still have Group B and Group C. But, oh, my God, the cow, I think, gave us one of the great party performances of all time with his song tonight. So, okay, he said, in the 2000s, it all started for me. I went to Capitol Records building with my friends, and we just sang on top of our bus until they gave us a recording contract, and it did not work. But eventually they did, and now my picture is on the walls at Capitol Records. We see a gavel, like a judge's gavel. We also see a cake that says "Happy Birthday" with just one candle in it, which I think must mean something. And he killed singing "Cry Me a River" by Justin Timberlake. Oh my God, it was certainly the best performance of the season, but I think it's one for the books for the Masked Singer. I mean, whoever this is an accomplished superstar, I believe. That was a blow the roof off the place kind of performance. Kate Flannery came out for the post song clue, which was musical, because of course it's the cow. And he said he has starred in a musical. All right, so the guesses from the panel, a couple that we've heard in previous weeks: Mario, Neo, Jason Derulo, and then Tay Diggs came up as well. I think that was Nicole's guess. All right, so look, Robin thinks vocally this sounds the most like Neo. You guys in the comments brought me on to Neo after my sort of embarrassing first week guess of Leslie Odom Jr. Look, I don't hate that guess, but based on the vocals, it's not Leslie Odom Jr., let's be real. So I was kind of way off on that. But so last week I went with you guys with Neo. Here's my sticking point for this week. Neo is not on Capitol Records. In fact, none of these guys mentioned. Mario is not. Usher was mentioned by one of the panelists, I think, the first week. He is not on Capitol Records. So Usher is on Arista, which is like Clive Davis's label. Neo is on. I looked it up right before this because I'm like, I need to know, whether these guys are on Capitol Records or not. Mario is on J Records, which also has to do with Clive Davis, but they got bought out by Sony and then got bought out by RCA. I used to work in radio for many, many years, so I know a lot about, who owns what record label and this and that and the other thing. So I see that. Neo is on, was it Def Jam? I think Neo was on Def Jam. And that is owned by Universal. So none of these guys are on Capitol Records. So it's like, unless, listen, I will admit I haven't worked in radio in a little while, about 10 or 12 years. So I don't know. But I even went on to the Capitol Records roster, and I looked up all of their artists, past and present. And there were a lot of them on there. They've been a record label a long, long time. Currently, in the rock world, they have, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Duran Duran is on their label. And in the pop scene, Katy Perry is on Capitol. But honestly, they don't have a lot of R&B talent on there. It's a lot of like rock, pop, some country. Darius Rucker, who used to be in Hootie and the Blowfish, he's on Capitol. So, boy, oh boy, this is throwing me. I'm going to stick for now with my Neo guess, because look, Robin's got a pretty good ear for this, at least when they're a real singer. He obviously got Joel McHale way wrong, but Neo, vocally it does sound like Neo. He's certainly a great performer, so I could see him giving this performance. I couldn't figure out what the birthday cake had to do with anything. That one's throwing me a little bit, but a lot of the other clues match up for Neo, so I will stick with that. But the Capitol Records thing is really kind of frustrating. So if you guys have any thoughts further in the comments, is it not Neo? I'm stuck on the Capitol Records thing. I know maybe I shouldn't be. It seems like a minor, conundrum or whatever. But also, I do I do these videos in my basement. You've got my wall of DVDs behind me and stuff. But this is just like a very small fraction of my collection. I have the whole room is lined with music and movies and all that. And my soundtracks are kind of right in front of me. I actually have the Bratz soundtrack right here, which I did not notice last week. But yeah, so I have the Bratz soundtrack right here, which includes Janelle Parish. I think she is perhaps in the top corner. Is that her? So anyway, I just sort of, and there's her name on the back in the credits. All right, so I don't know. Sometimes things just catch my eye while I'm down here recording. But anyway, all right. So I'm gonna stick with Neo, and that's it for the week. I guess next week we will meet Group B, because I think if they're doing what they've done in previous seasons, where they have Group A, B, and C, we will come back to Group A in like 6 weeks after we do 3 weeks with Group B. 3 weeks with Group C, and then we'll come back. So by that point, we'll have to sort of remind ourselves of who all these people are. But for now, those are my guesses. Those are the clues that I've put together for them. Thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing down below. And also, if you just come to my channel for the Masked Singer videos, that's cool, but I do post TV and movie reviews just about every day. I have a ton of content on the channel for you to check out that is not Masked Singer related. So if you're into seeing what's playing at the movies or on Netflix or whatever, or what's on your TV, and you want to know my thoughts, check out some of my other videos. I implore you. All right, but otherwise, we will see you next week for another Masked Singer recap and reaction video. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you then. Bye.